In my hand, I have a ball.
I just love the game.
I've never been a millionaire, but I've lived like one all my life.
I made the right decision going to teaching because, the old saying, those that can do, those that can't teach,
I'm not going to go to university. I'm not one for the books. I had no academic passion at all, so to speak. So I decided it was going to be golf.
We've obviously heard of all the great champion golfers. Gary Player, Bobby Locke, Harold Henning, Ernie Els and Retief West. But in the Hall of Fame, there is a fellow who got in there because he gave golf rulings. Now that doesn't sound like somebody who should be in the Hall of Fame, but let's just look at his background. He was a player in the 60s, 70s and 80s, but because he was a black man, more often than not, he wasn't allowed to play in tournaments that were predominantly white on the Sunshine Tour. At the end of the 80s, he saw a gap, which was to become a rules official on the Sunshine Tour. Not only has he done that for 25 years, but he's also given rulings at most of the major championships around the world. His name is THEO MANYAMA. He's got the respect of all players, both here in South Africa and worldwide. And as I said earlier, he's a Hall of Famer. It's great to be able to interview a man that has made golf in South Africa a better game, THEO MANYAMA. Growing up in Alexander, how did you ever get involved in the game of golf?
Well, it was simple, Dale. What happened is all my schoolmates over the weekend, they were gone missing. And then during the week back to school, and I asked them, I said, guys, where do you go to over the weekend? They said, oh, we are caddies. I said, what's a caddy? I said, oh, well, a white man comes in with his car, opens the boot, and he gets this big bag out, and you go to carry that. And all in all, he pays you R4 and a ticket to cash for R1.50. So it sounded quite a lot of money. And I said, well, guys, do you mind if I join you? They said, no, sure. So I started joining them.
Was this a big bag full of Nopkiddies?
No, well, golf clubs. And I was so young, Dale, I was 12 years of age. And every time when I had to get a bag, a player would complain to the carry master and say, hey, man, this is a pickaninny, man. Haven't you got somebody bigger, And one day on a Saturday, it was so busy, and this was out in Huddle Park. It was so busy that I was the only one left. And the player who came in had no choice but to take me. And I got so excited. And then I never looked back. I just loved the game. Every time when I caddy, I ask the player if he hasn't got an old club, the Niblix, all those kind of things. So they started giving me a club there, and the place in Alexandra, there was an big open space, and we used to play there on sand greens, obviously, and there was no fairway or rough. It was just a golf course.
Now, you mentioned Huddle Park. Did you caddy at any other golf clubs?
No.
Only Huddle?
Only Huddle until I retired from caddying.
So it must do your heart good to see that Huddle's back up and running now.
Oh yes, very much so, yeah.
The golf course in Alex, now that golf course was there for many years, but closed when? When did that...
Well, I think when people started moving to Soweto and so forth, it sort of like died. It's only now, recently, that they've started building factories and all that. But we call it a golf course because we really actually didn't have properties. It was just a place where we decide we'll tee from here. And then, as I'm saying, there's no fairway and rough. And then it was just the sand greens. On the green, we had a thing called scraper.
Yes.
It's a plank, it's like a T-junction thing, And you would flatten the sand from the ball to the hole. and get the sand out of the hole and then go through and then putt. That's how we've played for many years.
But you know, Theo, isn't that what the game of golf is all about? You guys probably enjoyed yourselves more then than a lot of people enjoy themselves on some of the most perfectly manicured golf courses.
Yeah, well, in any case, Dailies, the truth is we never even thought we'll ever play in a proper laid out golf course, you know. And, you know, what really, when I started loving this game, and the pro there was Eric Moore. I'm sure you remember Eric Moore. I mean, his posture, stance, the swing, it was something out of this world for me. Now, if I didn't get a bag, I would go and lie on the driving range when he gives lessons and just listen to him. And that's how I was getting my free lessons, and just listening to him telling the player what to do and what to do. Then some other times, then a player comes for a playing 9-hole lesson, and I would have the opportunity of caring for Eric Moore. And that's what when I grew up, started really playing, people were surprised at how good I was, but it was all the free lessons I was having from Eric Moore.
Because you've got what I think can be described as a classic golf swing. Did that just come from watching other people play?
Yeah, well, it was like self-taught, but learning from Eric Moore. As much as I couldn't ask him questions, I just watched what he did, and I wanted. It was like imitate him, yes. And. You know, then they started calling me Blackjack Nicholas. That's how far I was hitting the ball.
Now, in those days, Theo, who would you measure yourself against? Who were the other players that were playing that you would say, well, I've got to beat this guy, I've got to beat that guy?
Yeah. Well, I would say Vincent Chabalala was the number one player on black players. He was really good. And you had Richard Moharani, Shadrach Molefe, John Mashigo. John Mashigo, in fact, when we started playing, I would say multiracial golf, Dennis Brains, he said he really believes that John will be the first guy to win a tournament in multiracial tournaments. And but obviously Vincent, there was a time when he was touring with Gary Player all over the world, and Gary helped me a lot, you know, in his whole golf swing, putting, chipping, the whole thing. And there it was, Vincent winning the French Open 1976. I mean, when we saw this in the newspapers, we could not believe. All black people, I think, in this country were jumping sky high that we've got one of us winning a golf tournament.
In fact, a few years before that, in 1971 was the very first international golf tournament, and I think the very first international sports event. Brian Henning was running the tour, and he managed to convince the government to allow them to have a tournament where, as long as there were international players, that players of colour from South Africa could enter. There was a huge move forward for South African golf.
Now, I was a bit reluctant, Dale. I know about what you are saying, and I only started playing in 1973.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I've been playing golf, but to play, I played my first tournament, funny enough, it was the Alfred Dunhill at Wanderers in 1973. And to my surprise, I don't know, for the first time, I became the best black player there. And I was called on the main table. You know, believe it or not, I just hanged around because I played so well. In fact, things change. Today, we do not cancel tournaments, or tournament directors don't cancel tournaments. But in those days, tournament was getting cancelled. And I think you'll remember this because you played there. You know, you were the people I admired so much. You've won in Europe so many times and whatever, led the Order of Merit, and I was there playing with you as much as not playing with you, but I was there. And you know, the last round on Saturday, Bobby Cole shot 30 the front nine, and I had shot 75. I had finished my round, and it came down in buckets, and that round was cancelled. I mean, Bobby Cole was fuming, and I was one of those who were happy. Then I get a restart on Monday. As you can remember, we couldn't play golf tournaments on Sundays. So we had to replay on Monday. And I shot 37-33. So I bettered by 5 shots, and it really moved me up. You know, so I hanged around, as I said, and it came through the mic that, THEO ManYAMA, would you please come to the main table? And I started scratching my ears. I said, there's something is wrong here. They said, THEO ManYAMA, will you please come to the main table? Then I realized, no, this is no dream. They're calling me up there. And I went and said, if you can remember, Tom Weiskopf won the tournament. And now it was Tom Weiskopf on my left, Tom Weiskopf, then me, and you know who? Minister of Sport, Pete Korenov. You know, so it's one of the things of my highlight, you know, that I really enjoyed.
Well, Pete Korenov, of course, was famous in those days for saying that when he made a law, everybody thought it was a joke.
Yes.
When he made a joke, everybody thought it was a law.
Yeah.
Of course, now, maybe a little bit before your time, because I think in the early 70s, it was kind of at the end of his career, was Papwa Sagolum. But you must have seen Papwa, you must have played with him. He was a wonderful player.
Yes, I played with Papwa, and the man was really good. When we talk about people of color, when we had those tournaments, you know, where it was blacks, coloreds, Indians only. I mean, he was winning with 10 to 15 shots to a runner-up. That's how good he was. And everybody, when we teed up, we knew everybody's playing for a second place. And then until one time, we were playing at CCJ, tournament sponsored by Mali Classic. To my biggest surprise, after 36 holes, I was only 2 shots behind. This was like a miracle. And obviously, I was then paired with him on the last round. I mean, truly speaking, I was shaking in my pants. And we played, we went on and on until he was still 2 up on me and 3 holes to go. And then on 16, I hit drive and the second on the green, it's a par 5. And he was not even in the green. But he chipped and the ball rimmed the hole. He made 5, I made 4. And it was back to 1. We went to 17. I drive pitching wedge. The ball looked like it was in the hole. It was direct behind the flag. And we got there. No, it wasn't in the hole. So I made a birdie, made a par, and we hole square and 18th to go, the par 5, double green. Well, it was favor me because I'd drive him so far, you know. And I hit a long drive on the fairway, so he hits his drive on the fairway. He takes a 3-wood, hits it on the green, on the bottom side, and the flag is on back top. And I hit a 5-iron. I put it on an apron, you know, parallel with the flag. Believe it or not, Dale, he knocked it in the hole from down there. Eagle. And I tried to match him. I 3-putted so easy, made a 5, and still he beats me by 2 shots. I mean, this was one of the great moments. And you remember Phil Ritson?
Yes.
He was the pro there.
The pro, that's right.
That's when then he offered to give me lessons. He didn't see me, he just said, you know, he said, I was well built, I'm built like Cassius Clay, I hit the ball 5. He says, the only problem is I'm from the jungle. Now he would like to get me out of the jungle and bring me out into civilization. So he started giving me free lessons from there on.
In terms of your playing career, what was the highlight? Was that the highlight of your playing career, or was there something else?
Well, there was something else. I mean, we went to Swaziland. Swaziland being one of the easy courses. But this particular year, what they did about 10 meters, 15 meters before, in the middle of the fairway, before the green, they left the rough up. Because, you know, you could run the ball, you could putt from 20, whatever. And they left the rough there, so the course played difficult. I shot 68, and I thought, oh, by the end of the day, I'll probably be lying 20th. No, I was leading the tournament. And Second round, I'm still leading the tournament with a guy, Michael Green from UK. So the two of us were tied for the lead. And this was a nice surprise. My wife said, let me just check what Theo is doing in Swaziland. And she says she sent the kids for the newspaper. And she started at the bottom. She says, that's why I started at the bottom with 87. You know, I went up and up. When I got to 75, I said, this man didn't go to Swaziland. Up to 75, I can't see his name. She said, but anyhow, let me see who's leading. And she says she couldn't believe it. There's THEO MANYAMA, the #1 player leading the tournament. But the write-up, she says, funny enough, I didn't even see the write-up because the write-up said, the taxi driver, THEO MANYAMA, leads the Swazi Open. You know? So she says she jumped off the bed and she says to the kids, put on the lights. I really want to see if this is true. And then that was great. But the last 2 rounds, Mark McNulty came in with a 63 and a 64 to win the tournament. And I tied for 5th with John Bland, Ellen Henning, and myself. We tied for 5th position, and again, I the prize giving, you know, I just hang around there. I'm feeling so great, but then Mark McNulty mentioned me, which I didn't think it will ever happen. That, you know, but he mentioned me to say, you know, one of our black players, THEO MANYAMA, has done really well, played great golf and whatever. Then I you know, that was nice of him. Yeah.